Yay, we are live. Okay, so Friday afternoon chat with Blocks and Frocks. Welcome to Nadja. We usually have Gillian with us, but she is not available today. She's a very busy lady. So it's just myself, Lisa Gibbons from Block Leaders, and Nadja Bester from AdLunam, who's our guest today. And we're really looking forward to chatting with you, Nadja. So you're an entrepreneur, you're a strategic marketer, you're a communications expert, and you're an advisor. And now you're co-founder of AdLunam. So tell us about AdLunam and tell us about how you ended up at this venture today.
Yeah, it's always when I listen to someone else describe me, it always feels like I'm kind of having an out-of-body experience listening to someone else. Because when you're in the story, it doesn't look so linear, right? It doesn't look so refined and defined. Yeah, so I think I'll start with my own background just to kind of lead into AdLunam and give a little more color to it. So I started off in psychology, studied psychology in order to become a profiler, profiling serial killers. So you can imagine that my career took a completely different turn from the way that it was planned out. My son was born, and I realized that it wasn't something that I was going to be able to continue with. So did a bit of therapy, was involved in different therapeutic sort of avenues, and yeah, just realized it wasn't a good fit for me at the time. So that was that moment where I'm, in my mid-20s, I'm having an identity midlife crisis or quarter life crisis because, where am I going? What am I doing? Exactly. I mean, that's the age, right? That's the stage when you kind of go from carefree Shangri-La world to, oh my God, okay, there's an actual life here with actual plans, and I'm not sure if I'm like on the right track. So I kind of fell into marketing extremely by happenstance, because what happened was my son was homeschooling. I was collecting stories from all over the world from people who homeschool, and in the process taught myself websites and social media and marketing simply in order to kind of promote this website, and then found like, oh my God, I love it. And so I started doing it for friends, and before I knew it, I had a marketing agency and I had clients from like 4 different continents, and just kind of all fell together. I then worked for a pharma company where I was initiating digital marketing and later on also digital communications. So it was a really incredible opportunity to focus on digital marketing in the early stages. I mean, now today everyone has a website. At that time, it wasn't the case. Like businesses didn't even have social media pages. If you wanted to contact them, you had to phone them, right? So it was an exciting time, but before long, I mean, if you work in corporate, you know how it goes. Soul is sucked out of you, and it's, is it all worth it? That's always the question that you come up against. And I was also traveling abroad a lot for work without my son, didn't want to miss any more time with him. So after a time, I quit and I went traveling. I was like, my son was 10 years old, and I said, well, this is the time that I'm just going to go do that crazy thing of, having no return ticket and just going for it. And I didn't have any intention of working. I was, going to live off savings and just travel the world for as long as I wanted to. And then someone introduced me to crypto by offering me a job as a journalist. Now, I had been a journalist at school, but never professionally, and it wasn't something that I studied, but I had always wanted to. So I was like, oh my God, this is the time to become a journalist. Except that it was in the crypto industry and I knew nothing about crypto. I had been introduced to blockchain, to Bitcoin in 2012, and remember looking at it and going, this is super complicated. I have no idea how this works. One day when it's easier to understand, I'll look back into it because I'm not smart enough for this. So yes, by 2017, I think it had become easy enough for me to understand it. So I entered the crypto space that way by writing about it, reporting about it. Learned, of course, an incredible amount. But my marketing background very quickly came into play again. Started serving clients, different clients in the crypto space. Some of the names, a couple of years later now, you'll go like, oh, that's pretty cool. Others you'll go, don't think I've ever heard of them. And there's even a couple where I wouldn't want to mention their names because you'd go like, oh my God, really? Them? So it was an interesting time, suffice to say. Yeah, and from there I transitioned into having a communications agency, and then was still flirting around with journalism at the same time. So, had a sort of connection to the industry in different aspects. Became a consultant, became a CMO, became an advisor. So over the last few years, I've really kind of spanned the gamut in terms of my involvement in the industry. And then AdLunam. Now, where does AdLunam come from? From having seen the changes in the industry over the years, the evolution from, I didn't get in early enough to catch that sort of idealistic phase, and I wish I had, because I think I came in at the tail end just as it was disappearing. But that, for me, what it was all about was, kind of what crypto stands for, how it's evolving existing systems into something new, the kind of power of the people. So that's always been the values that I cherish as a person, and then that I see crypto as being an avenue for. So after having been in the industry for years, having been very disillusioned with a lot of things that have happened, and it's been painful, I think, for anyone who comes into this with kind of hopes and dreams for, what the implementation is going to bring and what mass adoption would bring. I think it has been painful to see a lot of the more sort of seedy elements come to play. So AdLunam came at a time when, I also needed to make a decision. What am I going to do in the crypto space that's going to add value and meaning after all of these years of, it's always questionable. Are you really making a difference? And so Jason, my co-founder, and I, we'd worked together on a different crypto project years ago and had stayed really close friends ever since. And we were kind of bouncing ideas around, observing the space and what it's turning into, and thinking of ideas that we could contribute to the new direction that the conversation was taking. And so the idea of a launchpad came up. So launchpad being an investment platform where investors are safeguarded from certain undesirable projects, for the pure reason that, as an investor, everyone always tells you to do your own research, but so much of the industry is based on hype. And so doing your own research doesn't necessarily mean that you are getting quality information unless you know how to do your research, unless you know what to look for. So I think that due diligence is something that is really lacking in the industry. And so the purpose of a launchpad is really to provide that VC level due diligence and enable investors in the process to kind of, benefit as well from certain selected projects. So if the launchpad feels that the project is going to have the biggest potential to launch, of course, then to align yourself with the launchpad's choice as an investor, that gives you that additional sort of due diligence coming from someone else. Now, the problem with launchpads are that it's become a business model in and of itself, and it's become a business niche in and of itself. So there are so many new launchpads on the market, and everyone is a carbon copy because they offer the exact same services. It's just, another business out there attracting more investors to their platform so that, the same thing can be replicated. Especially because some of the projects they select are sometimes not the quality projects that you can expect from using the services of a launchpad. So we were adamant that if we start one, it's going to stand for something else. It's not going to be just another platform of providing the same services that don't add any additional value to the industry. It's, just kind of the tail end of whatever trend is happening. And this for us became a criteria.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because we find there's so many platforms out there at the moment that are positioning themselves with grants and as a launch pad to understand where the next opportunity lies, because everyone wants to see where's the next opportunity coming from in this space. So I'm just going to let Gillian in because she's waiting on standby to get in. So I let her in to join us. But yeah, I love what you're saying. I'm so interested that it's a launch pad, and I want to know about the engage to earn side of it. That is like mind blowing. That's a new thing that I haven't heard of before. Hi Jill, we started without
Hello.
you.
Hey, Julian, how's it going? I know the feeling.
Look at my hair. That's how I feel.
It's Friday afternoon. We're having a lovely chat, so don't worry about it. Nadja was just telling us about the launchpad. So she's explaining exactly the values that she's bringing to AdLunam. So this is great. Continue. Sorry, Nadja, for the
No,
interruption.
not at all. Yeah, so I think, just to kind of encapsulate what I have been talking about is what we are trying to achieve with AdLunam is as a result of the pain points that we've observed in the industry over the last few years, and have a really deep understanding of what the pain points are. And also, I'm especially driven by the very, very deep value that equality is at the forefront of whatever we should be doing. In every industry, I mean, there's no excuse for having no equality, right? Like, it's just, especially in crypto, where it's all about equality. But on the ground, it's not. That's the reality is so different from the dream, and it doesn't have to be. It's just a shifting of values. I mean, because we've taken, I don't know, in the beginning of crypto, it was, there were a lot of these sort of freedom, liberty, equality happening, and with, I guess, the industry expanding, the other industries, the legacy systems, those mentalities have started coming in.
Yes,
and I don't think it's necessary. Like, it's a choice that we are making as a company, for instance.
yes.
It's like voting with the direction that your business is going to go in. You're voting for equality, or you're voting against it. If you're following along the same old track that has been kind of deeply ingrained in the soil for hundreds of years, you can't say that, it's not my fault. This is just how the system works. You have to change the system. And I think in crypto, it's a big responsibility to say crypto doesn't have to go in this direction. It can also go in the other direction. But then to put your money where your mouth is and shape your company in that way.
I always find it strange now that you say that. Myself and Gillian talk about that topic a lot, hence the reason for Blocks and Frocks. But I always find it strange when I go on to a project's website. Let's say it's a crypto project and it's doing quite well, and it's maybe they want me to write an article about it, and it looks great, and I want to learn more about it. And you go on to their about section, and it's just reams and reams and and like reams and reams of the same looking kind of men as well. So it's fascinating to me, because I'm like, if you brought a portion of women to the table, you would have a completely different perspective. You'd have new ideas. You'd have a different form of innovation. They'd tell you what they think. It's just a matter of seeing that having both together is an opportunity. Like the equality.
The mention of women in the space, like, it's so interesting. The other day, it was Women's Day, International Women's Day, and we were all kind of as a team sending each other messages. And then one of the men observed, oh, but there's more women on the AdLunam team than there are men. And I hadn't realized that, because of course that's not, I mean, I'm not hiring because someone is a man or hiring because someone's a woman. It's based on merit. And so I hadn't even noticed that there was a greater division, sort of percentage of women, because everyone's there based on merit. And that really just illuminated for me, if you are kind of aligning your thinking with equality, then it does elevate the status of women. You don't have to focus, you don't have to have these kind of special, almost artificial programs on, initiatives on bringing women in. It's just a case of aligning yourself to the value of equality, right? Like, you are not breaking those stereotypes and the thinking molds that we have, where we always default to kind of hiring certain people. So, for example, geographic location. There are certain countries that people would not want to hire from because, well, for different reasons, political instability, or weak economy, or English is not their first language, or there's stereotypes about them that's going to kind of count against us. But you get so much from hiring people across the world. For example, we are situated in 5 different continents, and the diversity that brings to the team is just incredible because everyone has a different perspective. Everyone comes from a different background, and it makes for a cross-sectional representation of the world out there, but inside the team, which is, it's just amazing.
And
and we can all work from anywhere in the world.
Sorry.
Sorry, I thought I better speak.
No, I'm saying, and we are all remote, so we can work from anywhere.
Yeah, but I do think, it's a new industry. So what you're saying, Nadja, is huge. Why do we take on the mores of the traditional business? We can change the rules. I remember I had 2 interesting conversations I had that speak to why people don't do this, the sort of the old-fashioned thinking. One was, I met this chap, I forget his name, it was in Vienna at a conference, and he seriously was saying to us, I really liked him, but he started to say, oh yeah, we try to hire females, but they wouldn't like the conversation in the office. Really? I looked at him and thought, how strange. Are you being disgusting in the office? What is the matter? And then another man, actually I met a man who was the head of diversity for a big, well-known IT company. And he had all the looks. He had the long gray hair, the glasses, and he was in his jeans, conference boots and jeans, and a hoodie and stuff. So he really looked the part. And I was talking about actually gender codes. I do believe in gender codes until things even up, especially we don't need it in crypto because we're new, right? But in politics, you need it because it's an old-fashioned regime. But and he was saying, no. He said, and you know what he said? He said, why would you hire a woman in a position and just see her fail? What? What he missed out was why the things. Yes, you hire a woman, you challenge her, but you support her. So his point was, you'd hire and you walk away. What is that all about? Whereas women are more conservative. We know that, so we don't normally put our hand up for the difficult jobs because we think perhaps we're not good enough. And it's not that we're not. It's not that, it's more we want to do good by the employer. So so it's not that we're just more cautious. So you promote, like you hire the women and then support them.
Yeah.
And we're a new industry. We don't need quotas. I do believe in quotas, but we don't need quotas here. We just need people like you, Nadja, who when you're hiring, and also I think if you're thinking about it, it'll make you seek out maybe women or something, just sort of, because again, the old thing, and I'll stop talking now, the old thing about a man looks at a job advert and he goes, oh, I can do 80% of those, I'm going to go for it. And a woman goes, oh, I can't do 20%, I might not. And there is, I don't know whether that's education, it's culture, I don't know what it is, but we need to kind of break through it and say, yes, you can do it. And here we're all new. So it's not as if there's an expert amongst us, It's my tuppence worth. Sorry,
when we do hiring, men who apply would have no experience whatsoever, not comparable to the industry, but to the job even. They'll apply for a post that they have no experience, no educational background, so zero, anything to go with. Whereas the women who apply are always either qualified or overqualified. But the interesting thing is we've been seeing this at AdLunam because you start off as a really small company and everyone works together super, super closely. And then, of course, as you expand, then people are able to start supporting each other. So when we first got started, I started mentoring, some of the earliest female team members who had zero experience in the industry, like zero. And this has kind of caused almost a chain reaction where now every new hire is trained and mentored by, another member of the team. And what I've seen is it's almost like an incubation process because the period of integration, because when people start and they have no idea what's happening in the industry, they don't understand things that to us are very basic, to them it's very new. But this sort of hurdle, this period of being super uncomfortable, it doesn't last that long. And then you start building up confidence, you start building up speed. And before long, you are operating like just on an incredible level. I mean, I see the women, especially because a lot of the women do not. In fact, I think all of the women on the team don't have previous crypto experience, where men do. And so I've just seen them transform and become like forces to be reckoned with. And that's one of the most gratifying feelings that I could ever have as a founder, is to see people build up that confidence from the inside out, but especially women building up that confidence from the inside out. Because that's really what we need, is we need women in this industry, because it's like, I hate to quote the yin yang, but there's two sides to everything, right? So you need to kind of bring all of these different elements together. And if you are only attracting talent from one sort of pool, but you are not getting in talent from the other side, I mean, there's a gap there. Every industry needs a balance in everything. Every person is different. The qualities that we bring in terms of gender roles, they are different. So things are changing.
Perspective, I think, too, as well.
And it's great that Jason's with you at the table, and he's supporting your initiatives, and you're supporting his initiatives. I do think, I love working with men. That's the thing as well. Men are great to work with. They're great fun. They have everything to everything and more packages to offer. But I don't like working with men that don't listen. And often, as a woman, you can feel that you're not being listened to, and that you're constantly saying the same thing over and over again. If you work with men, and I've worked with men in very serious positions in investment firms all over the world, and if they're listening, you'll work hard. You'll work really hard. And you'll get a lot of stuff done. You'll get a lot of stuff over the line if everyone at the table is listening to the ideas and to what's being brought to the table. But in opposition to that, I have felt myself at the other side of a table, and just you might as well be either invisible or screaming, and no one's listening. You're like, this is the most frustrating thing, because I'm kind of like you, Nadja. I have about 15 years marketing experience, community marketing, but e-commerce marketing experience before crypto. And if you know something is going to work in terms of a campaign, and they're not listening, it can be the most frustrating thing. You're like, you just need to do this one thing, just change the branding on this message. So it can be just really frustrating, But the men and women listening to each other at the same table is powerful.
Yeah,
we can move mountains.
And I think I want to use this opportunity just to give a shout out to Jason, because he truly does listen and support me and supplement me the way I do him. So it is a really powerful experience to be Brilliant. Kind of, coming together. And then also we have Lawrence Hudson, our CTO and co-founder, and he has been in the technology space in the 1980s. He worked on email in the 1980s. He co-founded Travelocity in the 90s. He has been CTO of some of the biggest crypto projects, like Paid Network and Master Ventures, the VC firm. And I mean, he's bringing so much of these decades-old experience to the table that it's just incredible, how we each bring something, and then together there's kind of an alchemy where on the other side comes out AdLunam. So I think I've been thinking about this a lot over the past few months. As a founder, I think it's such an enriching experience if you have co-founders in a way that I'm not sure you can emulate that if you go at it alone. Going at it alone is something I've done before. So, I mean, I speak from experience, and it's a much lonelier path than if you have co-founders, because it's sharing the joys, sharing the worries, the brainstorming sessions, brilliant flashes of insight. It's a close bond that you build.
I was going to add, carrying the work when one partner is late for lots of good reasons, and the other partner the show goes on. And I'm texting, and I will tell you another time what the frazzly bits I got involved with. I'm texting, and I can't even speak straight. I totally agree. I mean, I've done it alone myself too as well, and I much prefer to work in a team. Lisa and I work so well together. It's just the joy. It's just and I learn so much, because there's so much stuff I don't know, and there's so much stuff that I don't want to know. I'm a bit lazy sometimes.
It's just, I think it's nice as well at the end of the day, if you have a long day, to be able to, just spur all the stuff at someone. Just say, look, I'm really worried about this, or this is really challenging me. Like as a writer, sometimes I just get stuck. I get writer's block, and I'm like, Jill, help, because it's just like, it's a different point of view. You just have someone to bounce ideas off. So, and can we ask you about I'm really curious because of the marketing background, is about the engage to earn side of AdLunam. What is that concept?
I just wanted to make a request, because Gillian, I also get writer's block. So can I also message you and say whatever Lisa says to get unblocked?
Of course.
So, engage to earn, continuing on the story from earlier, where we said that we want to create something that's completely different, and that would add massive amounts of value. We looked at the industry and really dissected it in terms of where things are going wrong, and where things are very obviously not working anymore, but people are kind of still beating a dead horse, because it did used to work. And that's, I think, a big problem in crypto, is people, they follow the same recipe. There's a few pioneers, and it's amazing the people who are pioneers. And then there's just a whole industry behind of people just copy pasting what the pioneers are doing. So I love innovation. I love the fact that in crypto you can engineer something whatever way you want, and it just comes to fruition. It's not that easy in other industries, and in this industry it's like you're in a giant sandbox, or in a sand pit even, and what are you going to build? Like, it's up to you what you're going to build. It's incredible. So why do something? Why rinse and repeat? Why do something the same way if you can do it different? So we were thinking about sort of, all of the different problems that different stakeholders face in the industry. So for example, from the perspective of an investor, a retail investor, there is so much noise out there. I mean, I speak to people, and I have been talking to people for years and trying to understand, kind of workflows and how they integrate themselves into the industry, especially if they don't work in the industry. And the feedback that I always get is the information is so overwhelming, because you don't know who to trust, and there's just a constant stream of updates coming from everywhere on every platform. And in the end, you feel like you've been inundated with information, but do you really understand what's going on? You catch the hype, but you don't catch the underlying understanding, the foundation. And yeah, I think for me, this is concerning. This is really concerning, because we want to move towards mass adoption. But I mean, do we really want a world of investors who don't understand what the hell's going on? That's not good for the industry. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable. And of course, for those people individually, I hate to see people crash and burn, especially if it was due to ignorance. But I think in our industry, it's easy to be ignorant, because everything is about influencers and hype and, the smoke and mirrors and the vanity numbers, and those things count. But the real sort of engagement that people have with quality content and, discussions and discourse, I think that critical thinking element is sometimes missing, because even if people do kind of discuss the financial aspect, they will see what other people say and to kind of take that as gospel instead of trying to understand it for themselves. Now, I mean, this is a real challenge in the sense that it takes a lot of time to do this. But I think what has been happening is people have been spending hours a day anyway, but on the wrong sources. Like, they'll go chasing the hype. So they will invest the time, but without, so maybe I can spend 6 hours scrolling and I can spend only 2 hours thinking about what I'm seeing. So maybe, there's more of a brain investment if I have to think about it. Okay, but what am I getting out? So I think one of the things that we wanted to look at is there an easier way for people to engage, because they're going to keep on engaging, but engage in a way that will benefit them? Because it's a massive time investment, and if you don't get anything out, I mean, why are you even doing it? You're doing it to research, but then the research you're getting is not really helpful. So when we created the concept of proof of attention, it was looking at launchpads in terms of how they usually function. So in order to invest in a project on a launchpad, you have a couple of options. So the first one is there's guaranteed staking, which means if you hold X amount of tokens of the launchpad tokens, you are then guaranteed guaranteed receive an allocation. Allocations are typically small, but of course, because of the amount that projects typically give returns, even those small allocations still make it worth your while. The thing is, the more you can stake, the higher the allocation. At the lowest end of the level, where you are not able to stake, because for some of the top launch pads, you would have to put down $25,000 in order to stake. I mean, this is unaffordable for most people. Maybe if they've made lots of gains in crypto, but I'm not sure how many of those people there are on a daily and weekly and monthly basis, right? So for other people trying to come into crypto, a launch pad. I did an interview with HackerNoon a while ago where I compared a launchpad to a mangrove. So a mangrove in the sense that it shields baby projects and baby investors from the big wide blue ocean out there where there might be whale sharks and other types of whales that might eat you or might not eat you. And there's just a lot of stuff out there in the ocean. And the mangrove is a safe little harbor where, you can incubate and grow and kind of familiarize yourself. So launchpads offer that or serve that function, but not if you can't afford to make use of them, right? That's the point. It should be affordable enough for you to do so. So at the lowest end of the spectrum of your involvement is a lottery system, for example. There are 10,000 people who whitelist for this project sale, and only, kind of 1,000 can receive allocation. So then it's all due to how lucky you are, the spin of the wheel, lady of fortune, fate, destiny, who knows. This is not a way to to get involved with crypto. This is, kind of the gambling mindset. And so we wanted to create something that would add mutual value in the sense that it adds value to the investor, but it also adds value to the project. Now, projects, they create hype because they have to, but what they really want are engaged investors. They want investors who are going to stay with them even post the TGE, investors who are truly believing in what they are trying to accomplish, not just vanity numbers of, I have like 100,000 followers, but they're with me because I gave away like $20 and they followed me for that reason. So the question then was, how can we bring the same amount of value to retail investors so that they become engaged investors that attract projects? And the whole concept was, if you are engaging with crypto content on a daily basis anyway, why can't you build up like a proof of attention score on a leaderboard where, the data that's being generated, how engaged you are, what kind of engager you are, that can be leveraged by projects so that they give you allocation based on a factor of deservingness. Yes, this person is really engaged. Therefore, if they invest in my project, I'm going to get something out of it. And for engaged investors, they are being rewarded for the fact that they're engaging, at a quality level of kind of talking about crypto, thinking about crypto, not just, clicking retweet because I might get like a $20 reward out of it. So that was the idea behind proof of attention. Engage to earn is kind of zooming out a little bit, because proof of attention focuses specifically on the engagement aspect. Engage to earn is the entire model of AdLunam. So what we focus on with these this collection of data is both the engagement as well as the investment behavioral patterns. So if you do receive allocation, how quickly do you dump the tokens? How long for how long do you hold on to it? What is your engagement behavior? Because projects also want to know this. And so together, these two aspects then culminate in an investor profile. So this profile is almost like your passport that you are able to kind of carry around the system. It's almost like a badge that you show at the door and you're like, okay, this is who I am, like an ID badge or something. but it's more of like those, I went to a music concert once where I had bought, for some reason, I didn't realize that I bought like the VIP of the VIP of the VIP ticket. And it was just this endless sort of journey where the security guard was taking us from one sort of, cordoned off section to the next. And I was like, where is he taking us? And ended up right in front of the stage, which was really funny. But it almost feels like that in a way, where the more engaged you are, the more you are able to display your value as a retail investor, the more access you get to kind of behind the scenes. And in terms of behind the scenes, it's not really behind the scenes, it's more sort of the inner circle in terms of getting to that allocation that you really want. Because at the moment, the system is, quite corrupt. You need to know someone who knows someone, and then they get your allocation, or you need to be an influencer. A lot of people become influencers simply to get allocation, because otherwise you have no foot in the door. So it's not a fair system. And this is really for us, what we have tried to focus on is to make it as fair as possible. So with Engage to Earn, you have these profiles, investor profiles, but they are NFTs and they are dynamic NFTs. This means that, they are your store of value as an investor. And so the value can go up, and the value of the NFT can go up and down based on your kind of standing on the leaderboard of the AdLunam platform. And you are also able to fractionalize your NFT, which means that if you receive allocation, you can have other people invest under you in a kind of decentralized VC pool that you can start for yourself.
Wow.
So in so doing, we even enable people to take that next step in terms of their own journeys. And this is something, how else do a lot of retail investors get that stepping stone if they part of the same old mold of luck and fate and chance, and it shouldn't have to work that way. And that was really the idea behind Engage to Earn. So the more you engage, the more you earn at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not an investor, but I have spoken to a lot of projects. And some of the projects are looking for investment, and some of them aren't, and some of them are at different stages. But one I spoke to in particular, one of the criteria that the Launchpad had for them was how many Twitter followers they had. I was like, that is just not the way to go. That is just not the way to go. It's not a way to evaluate the potential of a project 5-10 years down the line, basing it on their Twitter, the amount of Twitter followers or Twitter bots that they can buy, to follow. I think it was that they had a minimum criteria 40 Twitter followers. Someone else sent me an NFT project, and they had like 33 Twitter followers yesterday, and it was the most beautiful piece of art I've ever seen. So how do you know? You need someone in the world of crypto in particular, what you're doing in terms of engaged earn. I think it's a little bit of holding, taking people by the hand, showing them that if you're an engaged investor, but if you're engaged with the community, you'll benefit from that. So I think it's nice. It's a lovely idea.
And I think there are a lot of people
I think
give their time voluntarily.
Sorry, William, go for it.
I just want to echo what Lisa was saying. There's a lot of people who give their time voluntarily, and they don't get any return. There's all these volunteers who are, admins and Telegram groups, and they're doing good work, and the owners of the project are not really rewarding them at all. So I think that's nice too as well. You can work hard and earn money, earn respect, gain allocations, whatever it is you want to do. I think it's a very good idea.
I think there are too many people coming into the industry not understanding how to truly benefit. They look at what's kind of being pushed out there, and then try to hop on those bandwagons. But in a sense, that feels like a pyramid scheme, because the ones who get in first, or multi-level marketing sort of thing, where the people who get in first benefit the most, and then the later in you come, there's almost nothing left. And again, that's not, why are we trying to attract people and then making them feel like they've been scammed or they've been wronged? This is not a way to achieve mass adoption. Like, we want people to come in and then flourish, to thrive, and to want more of this, because this is the only way that crypto is going. Well, I want blockchain to eat the world, but how is it going to eat the world if it's cannibalizing on everyone, right?
Yes.
And this is not the way that we should build this industry. So I'm happy to see it wasn't my internet connection, because I was thinking, must be my Wi-Fi again. So I'm not to wish ill on Lisa, but I'm glad it was hers.
Well, I think Lisa has the husband and wife team who were both work from home, so they're trying to get to the best spots in the house and grabbing all the things. She can't get back in. I think that's probably okay, because I think we've been going for a while, even though I was late. Terrible. So Nadja, I love what you're saying, and I like it because it brings back egalitarian, rewarding hard work. It's not just for the people at the top. And I do agree, because I think the nice thing that I've learned from this sector is that it's not, I mean, of course people want to be successful. I want to be successful. You want to be successful. But I want people around me to be successful too as well. It doesn't have to be an exclusive thing. And I think that is what you're bringing to the table with the AdLunam project. And I'm associated with it too as well. I must disclosure say that. But I think that's the nice thing about it. It's not everybody can benefit. And that's a much nicer place to be than if you're in first or you're just the boss, you get it. It's like, you know, how nowadays the CEO of a typical company earns multiple amounts more than his PA, but the PA pro rata pays more tax than the CEO does. And then they get these bonuses. That just makes no sense. Just no sense. So I think I like fairness, because yes, the CEO should be paid more than his PA or her PA, but not to that extent. Not to that extent. And I think that this is be a bit more fair. And I think what AdLunam is looking at doing is just giving opportunity, but in a fair way. So I think it's a very positive project.
You know, the thing is, I mean, why should it be win-lose if it can be win-win? There's simply no justification for why not. You know, it's if you're going to look for a solution, why is it not a solution that everyone benefits from? I mean, sometimes it takes a little longer and it's maybe a little bit more difficult, but to live in a world, again, where people think along those lines, after a while it becomes second nature, right? Like you always think with the win-win solution for everyone in mind.
Yes. And you're right. It's a way of thinking, isn't it? Because I know was it the 80s, when was Greed is Good and Gecko, when was, and then The Wolf of Wall Street.
Late 80s, I think.
Yeah. So I was kind of working in London at that stage, and I was working for JP Morgan. And I mean, I used to go for lunch with friends of mine who were traders. I was in the systems, and we'd meet at 11 o'clock for lunch because they'd been working since 6, whatever. And we'd have loads of champagne, and it was just mad. It's like it was just a crazy period before that little crash in 87, in 89, I think. But it's the thing, it's a way of thinking. We can think better. We can, it's like just even being aware of stuff. I think somebody need to talk about it to be aware of it, because like racism, I know that Ireland is a very white country, and back in the 70s and 80s, there were a few non-Irish people appeared, right? And it was just like, oh my goodness, it was just, you're a very bland Caucasian white race with red hair, whatever, and then you have other people going, that's kind of strange, and you get used to it, and this sort of diversity builds up. And I think it's a question of thinking it, speaking it, and then being it. And why can't we live in a nice world? Why does the world have to be horrible? No reason why not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, the beauty of it is that it's happening. It's maybe not happening at the pace that we would like it to, but really honoring the fact that it has been happening. Very brave, amazing people have been working towards diversity, inclusion, and equality for decades and possibly even hundreds of years. There's always been people focusing on it. But now I think we are reaching a kind of point where it becomes, you know, my son is turning 16 and I don't even want to think about it, 2 months. I don't know how that happened. One day he was like 2 and now he's here. I don't know. But so I look at his generation and he just thinks completely differently than people of my generation. No, he thinks by default with inclusion in mind. He doesn't look at people in the same way that previous generations have. And his whole peer group is like that as well. I mean, they just they treat life differently and each other differently. And so in that way, I can see that for sure it's going to get better with each generation. But even in our, you know, I was thinking about it before I came on the show. I was like, I've been in crypto for years and have having the opportunity to come speak on an all-women show, that was not possible before, because nothing like this existed. And now here we are, and we're having a chat, and it's just it's amazing. And it's nothing special. It's not like, oh my God, 2 women are talking about crypto. I mean, because in the beginning it was like that, right? Like any women's involvement was like a thing, because there's a woman here. And it's becoming normalized now. So it takes time, and it takes a lot of like people have to continue to build in that space, because it's not going to happen naturally. Like we need to put effort into it. But it's happening for sure, because many people are very dedicated to doing this, including you. I mean, you are a prime example of that kind of element in the industry, where you promote these ideas in a way that really gets it out there, right? Like there are people who don't push for anything. They are just in the space. And then there are others who push for these things, and this is what kind of drives it forward. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for having me on here.
No, at all. No, I love it. I mean, I say, and Lisa just said she can't get back in, so I said, don't worry about it. She did the start, all to the end. But I do think, like, for example, Lisa's passions are education and sustainability. She's a forager, I don't know if I've told you before as well. So she's really passionate about that area, the education. And for me, it's the inclusion and the including women. And also we have this funny thing too as well, because when I first got into this space, it was all about helping the unbanked, the people who were excluded from society, excluded from banking, all those things, the disenfranchised people, if you like, across the world, and in particular in developing countries. Yeah. But now it's really weird. Now that I'm a granny age, right? I'm not actually a granny. I have 2 girls who technically could make me a granny, but they haven't. That's fine. We're in no rush. But now that I'm kind of going, whoa. And I'm also a divorced woman. And I know that like 50% of the world in the developed world, 50% of people tend to be divorced. Divorce it's just kind of crazy. And when that happens, traditionally the woman is less is financially injured, whereas the man tends not to be. I mean, it's bad for both parties. And so I'm just thinking, I'm thinking this for the grannies out there, the grannies that need a second chance, and they're working in the corner shop, or they're working as an accountant, or they're working as a solicitor, and they've got no chance getting back on their feet again. But maybe if they came in here, it would be. So it's kind of funny. So you're saying about advocating. I started off advocating for everybody, and now I'm going, I think I'm advocating for the grannies now. Come on, grannies, come on in. It's safe. So we'll see. It's mad. But it was lovely.
But I mean, in a sense, it's the same for me, because I'm a single mother, and I've been a single mother all of my son's life. So for me, if I think about women coming into the space, it's not just, of course, it's about women in general, but it's especially women like myself who have had to juggle things and be full-time mom at the same time as full-time career person. And crypto affords you those possibilities in a way that, I mean, I've worked in other industries, and it was incredibly tough. Because of crypto, we've been traveling the world for 6 years. We live in a different country every few months or every few years. It's just been an incredible, like I'm at home with my son. I'm able to spend so much quality time with him. And I'm in a really cool industry where, I meet awesome new people all the time. I mean, where I am now, like there's crypto events, and I meet people locally, and it's so cool. And then I go somewhere else, and I kind of meet people there. And what other industries can offer you this kind of freedom? No. So I love the fact that more possibilities and opportunities are being opened up for grannies, for single moms, for working women, for stay-at-home moms, just for everybody. And then, of course, beyond women as well. The conversation is not just women, it's everyone. But I think for women especially, this is just a golden opportunity.
What it does for you, you're saying about how you live in your life, that impacts your son. So he's going to have a different way of thinking about life and opportunities for himself too as well. So they say that when you educate a woman, you educate the family. You feed a woman, you feed the family, and then you feed the community. So there's that thing. So there's nothing wrong in bringing women in and to be focused on that, because it benefits everybody. Because women when you support women, you're not just supporting women, you're supporting the family that surrounds them or the friends that surround them. And it's a different dynamic. And it's not sexist in that, to support one sex, because you're helping your son. I have 2 girls.
It's a virtuous circle cycle. Because it really, as you say, it's an ever feeding loop. It's not that, it kind of selfishly goes in one direction. It truly has a ripple effect that affects everyone around that person. And I mean, It's a good place to be in. I'm grateful and thankful to be here.
Me too.
Very, very happy to just, it's an awesome space. And I mean, I get to meet people like you, which is even
I was going to
more
say,
awesome.
how lovely is it that we haven't spoken in ages, and then because of Justin and I said, oh, let's have Nadja on our show. Actually, you meant to ask that. Do I call you Nadja or Nadia? How do you?
The funny thing is, my name. I'm from South Africa, but my name is not South African. It's Russian. So beats me how to actually pronounce it, because the way that I pronounce it is not how other people pronounce it.
Oh, it's not funny because I would have said Nadia, and then Justin said Nadja.
Do a Tel Aviv sort of, however you say it, as long as you recognize and respect the fact that there's a J and not an I, however you want to pronounce it is completely fine with me.
Okay.
But the way I pronounce it is Nadja.
Okay, I might go back to there because I dipped into Nadia for a bit, and now, Nadja. Okay, right, brilliant. So, wow, the hour's gone. I know I missed the first 10 minutes or so. Brilliant catching up with you. We'll do it again. Sometimes we've got 4 people, sometimes we've just got 2, we've got 3. Sometimes it varies. It's just we set ourselves this challenge of doing it every Friday. Just a conversation between women about things that are important.
Lisa was saying, and I think it's such an awesome, also such a great way to end the week, because it's not super serious, super sort of, what's the main points, and kind of zeroing in on those top priorities. I love the fact that it's casual and that it's kind of free flowing, and that's the perfect way to end the week.
I think so, because another friend of mine said, "Oh, is there a script?" I went, "No, there's no script. There's no script." So it's been brilliant catching up. Love seeing you again. Love hearing about the AdLunam again. It's very powerful. And we will have you on again soon with Blocks and Frocks. And thank you to Lisa, who started the show and then fell off and couldn't get back in again. And sorry for folks for me being late. But
guys, thank you so much. Have absolutely loved catching up with you. And looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, thank you so
Bye,
much.
Gillian.
Bye.